Hey, Shalom. Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Arokakwadash. First and foremost, I want to give all praises. Slakia. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well, and peace and salutations to the elect of the true nation of Israel, Yasharallah. Hopefully, y'all can hear me, man. But as you've seen the TikTok, these little effeminate, westernized ass Jakes. All right, I believe it's the same dude. I don't know. Saying when Adam was lonely, God gave him one woman, all right, Eve, and not 10. Okay, which they don't know that, man. All right, just because the Bible says only mentions Adam having one wife doesn't mean he only had one wife. He might have had a woman before her, all right, or a woman after, though it's not stated. Nor am I adding or taking away from the scriptures. I'm just saying, sometimes there's some things that aren't written in the scriptures that happen, man. All right, like common sense type stuff, man. All right, and men in general, having multiple wives is lawful, accepted. All right, accepted, not unaccepted, but accepted. All right, by the Lord. All right, but women having multiple men, no, that's whoredom. All right, that's adultery. But men having multiple wives, all right, even concubines, yes, as long as they're not other men's wives, then it's adultery. Okay, because women, like the scriptures say, a woman's supposed to be with her man, all right, for the rest of her whole life, man. All right, and there's multiple precepts talking about that, man. All right, I'm driving right now. I'm just speaking out loud. I can't, pull up the precept right now because I'm driving. I'm just, just going wherever the Spirit takes me. But yeah, man, like the scriptures say, a woman's supposed to be with her man, all right, for all the days of her life, roughly paraphrasing, man. But if he dies, all right, then she goes to another man, all right, and usually she's supposed to go to that brother, the brother of that man, all right, to keep the seed line, all right, because the brother is the closest, related man to her husband, all right, because the scriptures say, you are who your father is, paraphrasing, but you are who your father is, man. All right, you are, people are reincarnated. You're reincarnated through your father's bloodline, seed line. Okay, that's why the law, the Bible is as if a woman's husband dies, she's supposed to go to the brother of that man. If he has a brother, if not the cousin or whatever. All right. It's not about what she wants. It's not about how, whatever she wants. Oh, she likes a man that looks good, or that's 6 foot tall, 6-pack abs, 6 figures, this and that. No, it's not about that, man. Women aren't, according to the Bible, women aren't supposed to choose her man. All right. That's American westernized, all right, culture, all right, which is death culture, okay? Because women, they're not, the Lord deprived women of wisdom, okay? Women aren't supposed to be choosing, all right, their husband, all right? In every culture other than the American westernized culture, all right, men are the ones who decide who's who a wife's husband is going to be. Specifically, the father of that woman, okay, decides. All right, and it's how do you say it? Business. It's a business kind of thing, man. I don't want to say transaction, but it's a business, thing. All right, for a woman to be married to a man. All right, the father of that woman decides. All right, if he's worthy and has enough money and substance to take care of his daughter, man. All right, that's Israelite culture. Even these other Hebrew Ishmaelites, they do it too. All right, they have daughters, and they see their daughters as come ups, or more business. All right, because if she marries into a wealthy family, her family could be part of that wealth and whatnot, because she's marrying into, all right, a wealthy lineage, whatnot. All right, because hey, westernized culture, these women, they get with whatever man for whatever reason, just because she likes his hair, and then bang, she has 2 kids by this man or something like that, and then that she divorces him and whatnot, and all this other fucking madness, man. All right, and these kids are left without a father and shit like that, all because she liked that man because of his hair, or because of his muscles, or because he talked a nice way, or because he had a nice car at the time. Now he doesn't have that nice car no more. Now she doesn't like him, but they had 2 kids together, and here we go. See, women just they choose a man off of vain, things, man, because she just she likes him just because he talks to her nice, a certain way. They connect. He has a nice vibe. They bond together a certain way. Therefore, she wants to marry him, even though he's a drug dealer or a freaking dirtbag. Still lives with his parents in his mom's basement and whatnot. But I love him. But he smokes weed all day, does drugs. But I love him. All he's good at is playing basketball at the gym, but I love him. He's in debt. He can't get a job, but I love him. Shit like that, man. All because he's cool. Like, he looks good, he borrows his mama's car, and the car looks nice. He wears nice clothes, and he looks good, and he talks a certain game to her. Women will choose a man off of that, instead of off of how much substance that man has, how much wealth he has, his connections to the community and whatnot, and really the wisdom and knowledge of the Bible. That's who you're supposed to choose. That's really the wisest thing a woman can do, is choose a man based off of his knowledge and wisdom and his relationship towards Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right, because the men of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai are going to be the men. They're going to be left standing, the last one standing. All right, they're going to be a covering place, and a covering. All right, for Jacob's trouble, when all hell breaks loose. All right, when money's worth nothing, when you can't find no money, when there is no food, when there is no drink, no water, in the grocery stores, all right, are empty. Okay, no jobs, no money anywhere. Money's not worth anything. So how are you gonna get food? And there is no food. There's danger all over the place. People breaking into everybody's houses. All right. Crazy wild animals let loose in the streets of America. Okay. What are you gonna do then? Because those are the men of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai are gonna be the ones. All right, they're going to be fed, all right, kept alive, sustained, sheltered, safe, okay? All right, and they're going to have the wisdom and knowledge of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, therefore they're going to be stable in those times, all right? Not a man that has a Cadillac or a Charger, a car, a Hellcat, all right? Even though some brothers do have nice cars, all right, not a man that's set, that looks good, all right, that has tattoos everywhere, all right, who's worldly, all right, who's got all these women. Women will choose a man because he has women. You know, a lot of women like him. Women will solely choose a man because of that. But yet this man is short, fat, you know, got nothing going for him other than, you know, a lot of women like him for whatever reason. They don't even care for the reason. As long as women like him, they want to like him. You know, shit. You see, women, they're not supposed to decide who their man is, and that's that. How do you say? That's just that, man. According to the scripture, men are allowed to have multiple women. All right, and a woman is not allowed to have multiple men because that's sin. All right, and it's also basic anatomy, man. All right, science. You know, well, a woman is an innie, all right, and a man is an outie. If you know what I'm talking about, man. All right. Okay. All right. You know, on average, women get more. How do you say it? I'm not talking about STDs, but the UI, urinary infections, man. All right. Than men, because they're an innie. Okay. Their thing is wet. All right. A man's is you know, an outie, is dry. You know. And that's just that, man. You know, how do you say it? Even they did the science. If a woman has multiple partners, all right, you know, she you know, or whatever partner she's with, you know, man she's with, all right, she, you know, the DNA of that man, it, you know, stays in her, literally, okay. If they have sexual relations, hey, that man's DNA stays within her, you know, okay? And she starts becoming that man partially, not fully. She literally doesn't become that man, but, you know, literally, you know, women will start, you know, to slightly look like her man if they've been with each other long enough, man. Like, literally, you know. I'll say my woman, you know, she slightly looks different than she did, you know, when we were together, man. When we got together, she looks different. You know, I don't, you know, if it's, you know, but yeah, man, you know, women are supposed to be with one man, not multiple, because if she's with multiple, hey, she's gonna get all the DNA from all these other men, you know, and DNA, you know, all that DNA carries demons, okay, and she'll get spirits from this man and spirits from that man and this man, and that's why women have all these mental, not psychotic, but you know, I mean, that's what psychotic means, you know, mind, but you know, they get crazy anxiety, their emotions are all over the place, they're not stable women, all right, they start thinking about their exes, you know, they can't keep their ex off their mind. Everything reminds them of their ex, you know. It's because she's supposed to stay with that man. The first man she's ever been with, she's supposed to be with him, according to the Bible, man. All right. But a man, on the other side, a man, he's allowed to have, you know, we're not women. All right. We don't have the biological, you know, we're not biologically the same. Okay. Okay. We can have multiple women. Okay. And still be the same man. All right, unless you're weak, you know, unless you let those women change you, you know, mentally. All right. What does that sound? I don't know what that sound is, but yeah, man. And then, you know, the men in the Bible, all right, especially the Old Testament, you know, they had multiple wives, all right. Abraham, all right, Isaac, Jacob, our forefathers, all right, they had multiple wives, all right, with children, with those multiple wives, okay. Jacob had 4 wives, all right, and had 12 sons, you know, with those wives, man. The 12 tribes of Israel didn't come out of one woman, okay. All right, Isaac, okay. No, Abraham, all right. You know, he had what was it, Hagar, and then Sarah, okay. You know, Hagar was the bond woman, all right. Sarah was the free woman, you know, okay. Solomon he had thousands of wives. Was Solomon a righteous man in the eyes of the Lord? Yes, he was. All right. King David had multiple wives. Was he a righteous man in the eyes of the Lord? Yes, he was. All right. But it is different, when us Israelites are in captivity. When we're not in captivity, it's easier, to have multiple wives. All right. But when we're in captivity, like in the times of Rome, in these times right now, hey man, we can't afford. We don't have substance and money and wealth to be taking care of multiple wives. On average, as men So it makes sense for a man to stay with one wife, don't have that much children, because it costs money. And us men in captivity, us Israelites in captivity, we don't have wealth. All right, we don't have that much wealth. So that's what it's talking about when it comes to the New Testament. So, telling a man to be with your one wife. All right, because in this captivity that we're in, this is not the time to be having multiple wives and glorifying it, man. All right, and having multiple children. I got one child. I want more. All right, but it's not a wise thing to do to have another child, to have multiple children in this kingdom, especially knowing what effing time we're in, man. Jacob's trouble is right here. We're looking at it, man. We're stepping into Jacob's trouble. The Lord's about to return, okay? And whatever children you have, okay, that child is going to have to go through Jacob's trouble, all right? And may not make it. Can you handle that? Are you going to be able to handle that? There may be a possibility that your children, all right, aren't going to make it. And I already have one, all right, and he might not make it, all right, because I don't get to decide who makes it into the kingdom. I might not even make it, but that's why we call each other the hopeful elect, because we hope. All right, all we can do is hope, like the scriptures say. We're prisoners of hope. Okay, so hey, yes, it's biblical that men, our Israelite men, really just men in general, are allowed to have multiple women. Okay, even concubines. And literally Google the term concubine and what a concubine's for. Okay. All right. And yes, multiple wives too. Okay, we're allowed to do that. But yet, us men of Yahweh Shema Shai, us men, the believers of GMSA, man, us men of GMS and affiliates of GMS, we teach that the Bible says, it's lawful and it's okay to have multiple wives. All right, but we don't push that. We don't say, hey man, hey, go get multiple. You better have multiple wives, brother. Why don't you have multiple wives, brother? Hey, no, we don't do that, man. We, really, we tell each other, stay with your one wife. If really, don't have any. You these women, have these women just be your concubines right now, man. All right, to get one off, man. All right, because women come with headaches and burdens, like the scriptures say. And we can't be having more burdens on top of each other, on top of the burdens that we already have in this truth and the burden of this world. All right, okay, dealing with these worldly ass people, these worldly jakes, and then this truth is a burden too. It's a lovely burden, but and then on top of that, you want to add multiple women or even a woman and multiple children, because women want children. My wife's, she wants multiple children, and I keep telling her no. She slowed down. She stopped saying that. Okay, as long as you just take care of us. I'm like, I am taking care of you. To the best of my ability. You and my son. I'm like, okay, man, because I no more children. It's not wise to have multiple wives in this kingdom right now, man, because this is a wicked kingdom. We're in captivity. We're behind enemy lines. When you're at war and you're behind enemy lines, you're not resting. You're not in the mindset of rest. Like the scriptures say, this is not our rest. Rise and depart. This is not your rest. It is utterly polluted. All right, and having multiple wives and children, all right, that's a mindset of resting. All right, just kicking back. You know, we're not in those times, man. All right, the kingdom is next. Okay, like the scripture says, strive unto the truth until death. All right, even if you have to die, man. All right, have that soldier mindset, like the scriptures say. Okay, be as soldiers. All right. And soldiers at war, they're not getting married. All right. They're out there fighting a battle, man on a mission. Okay. And really, these Jakes, I don't get it. It's like some simp, westernized culture or thing. I don't know, man. I think it's because I think these Jakes just can't get no women, and they're trying to get a woman. They're trying to appease and sound good to these women when they say when they're speaking that westernized mindset when it comes to having one wife, one woman. I'm looking for one wife. Come to me, baby. Type shit. Type of stuff like that, man. That's some simp culture, some westernized culture right there, man. That's not a manly mindset. That's effeminate. That's literally the culture, the ways of Esau, the so-called white man, the devil, man. All right, he pushes that, having one wife. To me that's weird, man. All right, I'm stuttering, but to me that's a weird mindset to me, man. All right, the Lord says you can have multiple women, but you just want one. You just want one. All right. In the kingdom, I'm only gonna have one wife. I just want one. Get the fuck out of here, man. Don't talk to me, man. No, that's not what we're about. We're not all about women and getting multiple women. But in the kingdom, hey, I'm gonna have multiple women. I told my wife that, man. I'm gonna have multiple wives. I don't give a fuck what you think. What are you gonna do about it, man? You're not even gonna be thinking the same way you are right now. And she agrees, like, yeah. But now, can you just stick to me? Blah blah blah. I'm like, whatever, sure. Because we know right now we don't have the power. All right, women can literally do whatever the hell they want. To us, literally. They could call the cops on us and lie about us, and the cops will believe it because we're brown, because we're Israelites, and she's a woman. So that's why us men of Yahweh Shema Shai in this truth, we teach multiple women, our multiple wives, but we don't push it. We don't enforce it. We say, hey man, just stick to your one wife if you already have a wife. No more women. All right. Now, if you don't have a wife, keep it like that, man. Because you're gonna thank us later, man. Trust us. A wife, and children. On top of that, children, it's gonna make this work of Yahweh Shema Shai, this truth of ours, harder than it already is, man. All right. And it's gonna ultimately take time away from you serving Yahweh Shema Shai, serving Yahweh Shema Shai, which is our goal, man. Which is our main purpose. Using our time and energy and spirit and willpower to Yahweh Shema Shai. And if you add a woman on top of that, dude, you're gonna be giving your time and energy and all that to your woman. Like the scriptures say, a man that that has a wife, all right, he's gonna seek to please his woman, and not please the Lord, And these women are all about the worldly shit. They're not about Yahweh Shema Shai, all right. I mean, most of them, hey, some of them, hey, they are, man. All right, some of them conform, some of them are just one of those elect ladies, man, on this side, and there's very few of them. All right, very few. They exist. I'll say that. I can be talking about them. I be seeing them too, you know, on the internet, you know, how do you say, on brothers' comment boards and whatnot. But that's it. I haven't seen their faces, you know, and that's how you know that they're a woman of Yahweh Shem Shai, because they're not showing their face, man, you know. All right, and really, a woman's position is to be under her man, not alone, not with multiple men, not single. Okay, they're supposed to be with her man. And once you are under a man of Yahweh Shem Shai, a man, you're supposed to be silent. You're not supposed to be seen showing off. All right, you know, having your own TikTok, YouTube channel, teaching, showing off your cleavage and shit like that, your face with makeup, everybody seeing you. No, man. All right, that's for your man. That's worldly. That's westernized culture. All right, the beauty of a woman is for her man. Okay. All right. But back to this, you know, this topic. I keep straying away from it on accident. But these jakes that are all about one wife, you know, one woman, you know that you know, like I said, you know, it's weird to me, but I think I know what it is. I think that it's because, you know, these jakes they can't get women. They don't have their way with women. They may not look good, or don't know how to talk to women, or, you know, they don't have their way with women. So they try to come off as you know, oh, see, if you get with me, you know, I'm gonna just be all about you, girl. You know, I'll be the most loyalist man ever, man. You know, so get with me, man. You know, get with me, girl. You know. You won't have to worry about no cheating, you know. I'm loyal. You don't have to worry about, you know, anything. I'm just gonna be playing my video game, working hard, you know, supporting the family, which is beautiful, you know. But hey, man, you know, a man can't cheat, literally, you know. All right, because the woman was created for the man, not the man for the woman. Okay. So men can't cheat. They can commit adultery by messing around with another man's wife. All right, but a man can't cheat on a woman. A woman can cheat on a man. Therefore, she's committing adultery. All right. Okay, according to the Bible, man. If you want to believe it or not. All right. You know, these jakes. I go freaking stuttering. They be saying, like, I forgot, man. Anyway, I think I'm gonna end it off right there. Yeah, but yeah, man, you know, these Christians, these jakes, you know, using the example of, you know, how the Bible doesn't explain or say anything about Adam having any other wives other than Eve, you know. But what about King Solomon? What about David? What about Jacob? What about Isaac? What about Abraham? You know? Okay. All right. What about the kingdom of heaven? All right. When we're going to be in the kingdom, how are we going to bring forth the rest of the 2/3, the rest of the nation of Israel that will die on this side, man? All right. There's going to be a remnant, a few Israelites left. Okay. You know, that will be saved on the, you know, this first go around. How are we going to reborn or bring back the 2/3, which is a lot of jakes, man, all right, of our people? It's gonna be by way of sex, all right. And a woman can't bring forth 1,000 children, all right. A man's gonna have to have multiple women, all right, to bring back the 2/3. Because if it was just one woman, hey, man, you know, if a man only had one wife in the kingdom, it's going to take forever, because women, you know, they go through 9 months, one child, another 9 months, another child, another 9 months. That's forever, man. You know, that's going to take a long ass time, you know. So we're gonna have to have multiple women, man. And how do you say it? The Lord's favorite animal is a lion. All right. All right. He compares his people, all right, specifically Judah, as a lion. And what do lions do, man? There's one lion, sometimes two, but one lion, or one male lion, all right, and he has a pride of his harem, lionesses, or multiple lionesses, okay. And what do? They work for him, okay. He does some work, but they work for him, and that's how that's why the Lord likes the lion. That's why the Lord created the lion like that, man, because He created man to be like that, all right. And to have multiple women, all right. And when you really think about it, if every Israelite man, had, multiple women, it would be easier, all right, because you would have, even on you other women, even on our women, it'd be easier if you had sister wives, literally, or concubines, all right, because they would be doing there would be one doing the dishes. All she has to worry about is doing the dishes. One worrying about the laundry. One worrying about doing the garden. One worrying about the children, changing diapers. One giving baths. All right. One sweeping and mopping. All right. One how do you say it? One wife worrying about I said the garden, cleaning out the car. I don't know, cleaning the bathroom. The windows, a wife for every little duty out of the house, man. All right, one for the finances, all right, taking care of the finances, okay? Instead of one wife worrying about all that shit, cleaning everything, like these Mexican women, man. These Mexican women, these Issacharites, they believe in, that singular household family, like Esau, all right? I'm like, I was joking around with my wife, but at the same time I was serious to myself when I was joking around her. I'm like, we should get a servant, a maid, maybe two, maybe multiple, so one can take care of the laundry, so one for the dishes, well, one can sweep and mop, and all you have to do is just chill and do your artistic stuff, woman, And she got pissed and whatnot, so quit playing around, like, whatever, man. Whatever, because hey, for real, like, if we had like, if there was, it would be easier, all right. But now all these women are westernized. They have that westernized culture inside their freaking brains. All right, just because every other woman is westernized, they gotta be westernized. Now my man can't have no other women. Fucking demons, man. That's why we call our women our demons. It's my demon. That's my demon. Because they act like demons, man. They're not wise. It would be a wise decision, man, for real. But no, these women have jealousy within them. They want to be like every other woman in this westernized world, all right? But in the kingdom, we're not going to have to worry about none of that, man, all right? And these women really can't get past that it's biblical and it's true. And the Lord has it, or He made it where a man is allowed, accepted to have multiple women, all right? They can't get past that, man, all right? They can't accept it, all right? Even in the ancient times, when men did have multiple women, they would still get jealous over the other sister wives, man. So, hey, man, this is why we need new bodies. We need the Lord to return soon, man. To get rid of these simp ass Jakes, all right, who are all about one wife, one woman, which is, hey, man, which is, simp ass cultures, effeminate ass shit. The scriptures say, no effeminate men shall enter into the kingdom. So if you have this mindset, the Lord ain't redeeming you, man. All right, okay, all right. And like I said, hey, the scriptures. We're not all about having multiple women. That's not why we're in this truth. That's not why we wake up in the morning. That's not what we're thinking about 24/7. Oh, my multiple wives, orgies in the kingdom. I'm gonna have 5 sons with my wives. That ain't gonna be going on, all right? Because an orgy, all right, is sin, you know. When we're gonna be dealing with our women in the kingdom, it's gonna be one at a time, man. Thus say the scriptures, man. You know, we're not gonna be having. I'm gonna be having sex with 5 of my wives at once. No, man. You know that's wicked. You know. All right. But hey, we're gonna have multiple women. All right. When I'm done with this one, I'm gonna go to the next one. You know, whenever I please. Not now. Not now. Okay, chill. Not now. Because I could just already, imagine, my wife watching this video, accidentally coming across this video, or saying something to me. I'm not gonna give a damn what I don't give a damn what she says anyway. Concerning topics like this. But hey, in the kingdom, we're gonna do as we please, man. All right, and it's all gonna be happening in righteousness. All right. But hey, man, I feel like I've been pretty long-winded. This is not going to be going on in the kingdom. And if you're like this is not a king's mindset. One wife type of vibration. But don't get it twisted. If you have one wife, keep it like that, okay? In this kingdom, all right? Because it's gonna. In this kingdom, we're in the kingdom of wickedness right now. All right, we don't have the power to take care of multiple women, deal with multiple women, and these women aren't even women. All right, they're demons. They're westernized monsters. All right, they don't have a righteous mindset. All right, they're gonna want this and that, this and that, that and this and this and that. All right, all this worldly shit when all you want to do is serve the Lord, man, and get some box here and there. But ultimately, first off, serve Yahweh Shemi Shai. And these women aren't about that, man. They want to go to this party, this family function, do this and that. Spend money on this, spend money on that. All right. Spend time with me when it's time to go out there and prophesy. Why you always doing lessons, man? Well, why you always reading that Bible? If they don't say that, they say it in their actions. By saying, why don't you spend time with us? Why don't you spend time with me? All right. On your free time, you don't spend time with us. Blah blah blah. See, this is why we say, stay with your wife or don't have one at all. Just use these women as concubines, man. All right. Because we're not in the time of getting married, like Jeremiah 16:2. All right. Don't have children in this place, or add more wives unto you, roughly paraphrasing, all right. So don't get that mixed up with us saying, don't get that mixed up with this. That's not this. This is, men being infatuated with only having one wife. See, we're not infatuated with that. We're not infatuated. We're not happy that we have to, we're not happy with the situation we're in, man, in captivity. All right, we want us men. We want multiple women, even in captivity. But we know it's not wise to. All right, that's all we're saying.